Hello and welcome back to the Latte show. I'm Andrew Byrne.
And I'm Anthony Byrne.
Episode 3, Anthony. Where are we today?
We're in the lovely Neighbourhood Cafe over in Carlow Town. So our lovely host for today is Brian O'Gorman.
Yeah.
He's the owner here in Neighbourhood.
Yeah, and we're going to have a quick chat with Brian towards the end of the podcast, and we'll basically go through what Brian is doing here in Carlow, what led him to opening up the cafe, I suppose, itself, and then we'll speak about actual differences between coffee. He's the first and only coffee roaster in Carlow, and I suppose he's trying to really push that aspect of his business and the craft of roasting coffee, and how I suppose getting away from the big business, bringing it into local business and doing quality product, I suppose, for his customers. And we'll get chatting more about that sort of stuff with him later on.
Brilliant. And just suppose first of all to thank Neighbourhood Cafe for having us initially, and for two lads starting off a podcast, it's great to have the cafes being so welcoming towards us so far.
Yeah, we have a podcast that's based around travelling to different cafes around the country, and we've been in the three of them have been based in Carlow so far. County Carlow, Hackneystown, Tullow and Carlow. I don't know if there's many places left to go.
But that's all we know anyway.
Yeah, we'll go to as many places as possible, promote Carlow as best we can. But I suppose what you want to go through today.
Well, I suppose a quite irrelevant topic would be like Leaving Cert Results are coming up this Monday, so we could talk about how our experience of it and see where it goes.
Yeah, I suppose on Monday, all Leaving Cert Results students will be getting the weird results, because obviously they never actually got to do their Leaving Cert exam. So I remember, like,
that's crazy.
It is a bit mad, like, to think that their teachers are kind of getting behind the results of what they're going to get for each subject, and then it's going to be tweaked then by the board. I think some are getting reduced a little bit. I don't think there's going to be too many changes apparently, but over in England, when they got their results for the kind of Leaving Cert equivalent, there was uproar. Basically, there was people basically from socially deprived areas getting dock marks that they technically shouldn't have been getting, just because of
where they live,
where their school ranked on the list of
right.
school, all that sort of crack. So,
and do you think that'll happen in Ireland?
I really hope not, because it's really unfair. But by the sounds of it, last week there was some sort of a mention of how there's not going to be too much of a change from what the teachers are saying. So hopefully that'll mean in itself.
It's a lot of pressure on teachers, though, I would think, like, because
it is,
like, no matter what, like a teacher tries to do, like, and try and be as unbiased as possible, like, there's always going to be that thought in the back of either the students or the parents' head, like, that one doesn't like my Johnny, like, do you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that it was always done
genius, but,
by an anonymous
like
corrector, that they couldn't question it, the result was the result. But now they have a face behind the result. It's going to be pressure, like, that's mad, I think, like. But sure, look, I suppose it's the only way it could go this year.
But even do you remember, like, we would have been able to properly celebrate our Leaving Cert results. We would have went into Carlow Town here and went to the local nightclub and different things, and would have had good crack with our classmates, and it would have been kind of one last hurrah before we finally went off to college.
Yeah.
But I don't know what Leaving Cert students are going to be doing now, but
I presume
they'll be doing something. House parties, unless the pubs decide to miraculously open between now and then. But but I suppose it's best to look to all the Leaving Cert students out there who are getting their results and moving on to college. Do you want to speak about maybe our
it was a heartbreaking story, really. Like, two twins separated for the first time in 18 years, had to go our separate ways.
The first time we had done anything in our lives where we were
going into it alone.
That's the one thing about being twins, I suppose, is you get to experience it or anchor yourselves off of somebody else going through the exact same thing. Whereas it's the first time in my life that, or our lives, that we've ever had to actually be independent people, and I found that weird. It was very strange, but I just thought, right,
You
I
have
have
to
to get
go for
used
it.
to
Like.
this. Like,
But it probably
eventually.
stood to the both of us in the long run anyway, like, because we're not going to be holding hands forever. Like, so, like, I know, like, normally if we were going into a situation, a social situation, even, like, you know, any kind of social anxiety you might have, like, you're kind of happy because you have someone to talk to. If no one else talks to you, you're not on your own. Whereas going into it on your own, you're thinking, I'm going to have to make a friend here, you know. And how do you even
Yeah.
go about that when you haven't done it for 18 years by yourself?
Yeah, I remember I went up to DCU on my own, and I was just like, I literally spent the first couple of weeks just tipping around on my own, like didn't really do much, and I was just like, sure, I'll make friends eventually. Like eventually, like it'll all settle down. The whole like kind of initial college kind of mayhem will settle down, and someone will be talking to me regularly every day. Like, you know what I mean? I never worried that
Yeah.
I wasn't going to make friends with someone, but it was like the first couple of weeks I was just like walking around on my own,
Yeah.
like doing nothing. Like, and I think an awful lot of people might have similar experiences, or other people might be used to making friends on their own, so they're like straight in, like
Straight
from the
in.
get-go.
Yeah.
I remember even like there was like some sort of a party in the Larkfield kind of first year accommodation area at DCU, and I had arrived up and I didn't realise this was going down, but apparently there was messages out on social media and stuff about it. But I was like, alright, sure. I actually went and just started walking around. I was like, I'm on my own here. Like, this is like weird. Like, I was like, I've never had this experience.
Did you run into
drinking
some
a can
people
on
from
my
when we went to FCJ school? You ran into a couple of people from FCJ, was it?
Yeah, I was bumping into a couple of them, but not immediately. Like,
Not immediately.
yeah, like in DCU, there's a good crowd of those people, and it was nice to see those.
A
faces
familiar
again.
face. Yeah.
Yeah. But sure, then, like the first friend I made was like I was in a politics lecture, and they were talking about just local politics and local council politics, and they were talking about how what councils local constituency areas are you living in, and I was just like, I think I'm from Hackestown, which is in Carlow, but I think we're in the Wicklow voting area, and some lad sitting in front of me was just like, oh, are you from Wicklow? Sorry, it was Paul Dwyer. And he
Up the
basically,
road, sure.
literally, I was like, oh yeah, well, like I'm from Carlow, but, and he goes, oh, I'm from Ballinglass. I was like, what? You're not from Ballinglass.
Stop.
Yeah. So me and Paul basically became best friends for the rest of college, and like that's how
How easy
like friends can be made, I suppose, in college. Whereas like up to that point, you're with the same people all throughout school till you hit 6th year. So the last time you had to make friends would have been like
First year.
in primary school.
In primary school, yeah.
They're like in baby infants, like, you know. So it is a weird experience, but it's really enjoyable, I suppose. Just getting into college, and like getting over that initial like hump of this is awkward as fuck. Like,
You were telling me actually, do you remember the time at a charity auction that was ran by the boys from the town?
Yeah, actually.
You were being auctioned off for a date, and you invited a few lads you didn't even know, kind of any of your college class, was it?
So like obviously Mark Byrne, who helped us design the Latte show logo and different things. He was a few years ahead of us in college, and him and a couple of the other lads like Ronan Byrne and Liam Byrne and all the Byrnes basically.
Pod Schmidt as well. Was anyone in that house? Harold's Cross
Fitz,
lads.
Owen Fitz and all, and they all basically were living down at Harold's Cross, and they were living in this mad place. I think there was a lad murdered in it at some point, but
It's probably not funny.
it was just a mad old place. But they basically had organised a charity event, and this is the first couple of weeks of college, first month or so. And I had only at this point made friends with Paul, I suppose, and a couple of other people, and I was just kind of tipping around still on my own a bit and trying to meet up with a few of the Hackestown lads going to the cinema and stuff. But and then Mark asked, "Oh, do you want to be like sold in this charity auction that we're doing?" So it's just an event where like they basically bring up single people, they sell them at an auction, and like whoever buys them at the auction
Gets to go on a date
with them. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? It's a bit of crack. for charity, all that sort of crack. And when I was asked, like the day of it, I just said to a lot of people in college, I was just like to Paul and a couple of people, I was like, oh, do you want to go to this event tonight? I'm being sold at a charity auction. And they're like, yeah, sure. Well, we invite a lot of other people. Sure, it's an event that, like, an excuse for the college crew
Go
to
for
get
a few beers.
Yeah, so they all piled into my room. It was like a little single bed unit. It was like that's all there was a room.
Yeah.
Was where I was. You walk in the door and it's just the bed and a small tiny bathroom and stuff. But we were in piled in there, about 20 of us, and I suppose that group of 20 people became the group of people I spent the rest of my college experience with, and still really good friends with today. So I suppose that first couple of weeks of college is always a really like anxious moment, but once you get over that and meet the people that
are going to be in your course,
they'll be in your course, and they'll be whatever social groups you're in, and they'll be friends with you for the rest of your life. So for anyone that's in Leaving Cert or that's going to college, don't give up early, because an awful lot of people.
I nearly give up early, like, in fairness.
Do you want to go through like your kind of first couple of months in college experience?
Yeah, like, I think I was like, what do you do? Like, I would never want for doing homework or doing anything extra that I needed to do. Like, when I went home, I was threw the bag to the floor, and I was like, I'll do the homework in the morning on the way to school or whatever. And when I went to college, I was kind of like, do I have to come home every day and learn everything and all? I was like, right, I'm going to do this right, and I'm going to go home to the room, read the notes that I went through in that lecture, and learn them so I know them for the next time. And then that kind of dwindled after a couple of weeks, like, and I was kind of like bored in the evenings and nothing to do, and kind of like, alright, I'll join the football team in the college, like, you know, try to play a bit of freshers football. And then I met, like, and there was a few lads in my course on the football, training for the football, going to the trials, and kind of through that, and maybe saying to them lads in the class, are you going training after college? Things like that, like, that helped me, like, and that was always my fallback in, I suppose, in everything. Like, I always play sport. That's how I met my friends, like.
Yeah.
So I was lucky that way, that I just, like, in DCU it's probably a lot harder because there's a lot of lads going to play football, whereas lads in my course were going, I was bound to become friendly with them. Like, you know, they're all kind of similar, like-minded people. Like, they like sport, they like, you know, everything I like, so it was quite easy that way.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure you even bumped into someone who we had spent play school with for
Shawnee.
a year or that, and then 20 years later bump into him in college and became one of your best friends.
Yeah, we went up and down to college. So basically, the last time we would have probably spoke would have been play school, like age 3, and then went to first year in college together and shared lifts the whole way. Like, he, you know, he's one of my closest friends now, like, you know, and it's just randomly was a love story, I suppose, getting back in touch after 18 years or 15 years, whatever it was. It was quite funny. Oh, like, I have good experiences from college, like, it's a bit of crack, and that's actually, we threw out a feeler during the week on our Instagram page, just like, anyone have any good funny college stories, and I was sending them out to the lads, and I went to college, like, just trying to think of, do I have anything funny to talk about or anything like that, and they were sending me a few stories which were quite good, and we could talk about a few of those, like, if you wanted. Shawnee sent me a story. Well, he just reminded me of the time. He was like, do you remember the time the Americans came over? I was like, so Shawnee was in a totally different course than me and the lads and all, but would be in our group. Like, basically all our class was I did athletic and rehabilitation therapy in college, and all our course was kind of close. We always hung out together, and Shawnee was a part of that. Basically, he used to come on placement to us, like, just to watch trainings. Like, you know, he did more placement hours than half of our class. But basically, Shawnee was like, do you remember when the Americans came over? So a bunch of American exchange students came over that were in our course in America, and he was just like, do you remember how out of their depths they were in Athlone? Like, because Athlone is, like, it's not great, like, it's rough enough, like, but
it's just I suppose it's just
a small college and
town in the middle of Ireland, like, you know.
Yeah, it's not like America. Like, they were kind of, I suppose, upper class, I suppose you could say, but we were having pre-drinks one night anyway. This is the story. So we were having pre-drinks and we were all having great crack, and the Americans were there and having the crack, and like the houses we lived in were just old kind of council houses that weren't clean, real old carpet, real old curtains, probably had a bit of smell off them, like damp,
like.
just not great. Like, but I remember Shawnee was like, I had to bring 3 of them next door, and I was like, why? What are you on about? Like, were you trying them or what? And he was like, no, they were panicking, they were having panic attacks, and he's like, one of them started bawling, crying, like, because they were just like, this is so shit. And we had to spend another 2 weeks here, and I was just like laughing away at that. Like, and I remember towards the end of their kind of time in that loan, we were out on a night out, like, and I got fairly full, like, so, like, you know, as you do, like, but I remember the next morning after this particular night out, I woke up and my wallet was like an extra €100, €110 in it, and I was like, here, I normally don't end up €100 extra in my wallet after a night out, like, and like I was kind of like, the next morning I was kind of like, boys, I have an extra €100 on my wallet, like, what's the story with that? Like, what was I doing last night? Like, how did I get €100? And one of the lads piped up and was like, oh, Anto, I actually remember you were standing at the ATM with one of the American lads, and you were like trying to give him back money, like you were saying, no, it's too much. and he was like, no man, I'm going back to America, I don't need that shit, I don't need that euro anymore, you know. And I was like, right. And I was like, and Colm was like, I think you sold him your watch. He bought your watch for €100. I only had a cheap, like, River Island, like, brown strap watch, and I don't even remember. This could be a lie, because one of the lads, Darren Cohen, told me, like, but he was like, no, genuinely, you took off your watch, he bought it off you for €100, and that's what you have the money, like.
And did you offer him your watch for the, like, that he was like, I
wish I could remember,
so you were like,
to be honest,
so I'll take the watch, so
because I like, you kind of, like, when you're, obviously I was fairly drunk, so I don't remember fully, like, but
yeah.
I do vaguely remember being at the ATM with him. I don't remember selling him my watch, but yeah, that's what I was told anyway. Just thought that was brilliant, like.
Yeah, I stopped, but sure, like, remember you were saying about, I think there was some sort of a football match on or something, and you were all kind of going mad in the.
Oh yeah, at one of the house parties that the Americans were at, PSG and Barcelona match was on the time when Barca came back in the last minute. I think it was like they needed to score to get through and on the way goals or something, and like we were all absolutely, like, you know, buzzing, music going in this house party. The match was on and they're all having the crack. Next thing, we were watching this match, and Barca, we knew Barca had won, and that big long ball went in, and your man Sergio Roberto, I think it was, got on the back post, and we all like leapt up, like roaring, shouting, banging the roof, banging the walls, like, you know, cheering, like, oh, goal, whatever, as you would, like. And the Americans kind of were like standing there first of all, and they were looking at us. Next thing, they just started joining in, like, it was like, let's just wait and see how they react, kind of thing, like. Then they just started hopping off the walls and everything as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant though.
I think Americans might have just a different
especially the
lifestyle.
soccer though, like, as well.
Yeah, and even like when it comes to drinking and drink cultures and stuff, obviously they legally can't drink till 21, but I presume a lot of them would just have house parties and stuff. Just the whole kind of social culture,
pre-drink
it's
culture,
just completely different, I'd say.
Yeah.
I always imagine, like, Americans, because they speak English, I always imagine, Americans are like us, but then I realise it's like they're completely different. Like, you meet an American, you're like, your whole outlook on life is so different. Like, Americans get married so young, they have these like these perceptions of like starting life at way different times than we might. Because like, even one of the girls I used to be living with, she was like, she's an American friend, and the girl I used to live with, she was like, I'm with the boyfriend for like 6 years or whatever it is, or 4 or 5 years or whatever it is, and the American's like, and he hasn't put a ring on your finger yet. It's like, that man, there's no man getting with me for over 3 years and not even asking me to be engaged or something like this. She was like, I don't want to be getting engaged, I'm only 24 or 5. So they're just completely different. I'd say when they were like landed into Athlone 3 hours or whatever from Dublin, getting off the airport into nice little Dublin, you're like, oh, class, we're in Ireland, and down the motorway towards Athlone. I'd say it was just a bit of a
culture shock.
A culture shock, yeah. Like, obviously, whatever university that they were coming out of, just the lifestyle might have been completely different, I'd say.
Speaking of drink culture, like, a lot of people who will be listening to this podcast should be standing in the middle of a field drinking cans at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose we're recording this over the weekend of what is
should have been
stereotypically Electric Picnic weekend, which you've never gone to Electric Picnic. No, I've only ever been once, and I ended up luckily going through work. They basically just sometimes they just send out reporters to the weekend on EP, and you get a reporter pass or whatever, a press pass, and you get access to different areas of EP that most people don't get a chance to get to. And it was actually a really nice experience, and I was able to bring a couple of lads with me, which was great. They enjoyed it anyway. They got access to
the VIP areas with all the
VIP areas. I'm fairly sure Dave got a picture with Gavin James at one point.
Oh, I think I've seen that. Yeah,
I didn't even see Gavin James. I was like, how the hell do you, like, I bring you here and you're the man that gets to go see Gavin James. But like, basically, Electric Picnic is just such a, you can see everyone. Like, I've seen people they're camping in fields this weekend just as a group of 4 or 5 people, because they have like a ritual at this time of the year every year.
They're drinking in a field
in a tent, and they're camping out somewhere. But
it's actually not a bad idea. Bring a speaker.
Yeah. Even down in Cork, I seen someone set up like the back of the house, a huge big garden, and they just had lights, and they had different areas. Like, they had a camping area in one section. It was just all the tents in there. Then they had like the rave in the woods, and they had like all these different sections, and named them after the Electric Picnic areas. It was really cool, like, in fairness. A lot of work goes into it, but obviously we're not missing out on the Electric Picnic vibe
experience,
this year. And they had like, I think they had like the 15s. They're allowed 15 people in your garden, or whatever the number is at the moment, and it was all like COVID friendly, you know what I mean, which is I suppose a lot of people are kind of just coming up with new, like, just quirky ways to still
spend
enjoy
time together and
during
have the crack.
The current regulations and stuff. I suppose, do you have any other funny college stories?
Let me think. There is one, like, kind of, I suppose it's not hilarious, right, but it was a bit of crack. It just kind of sums up our college life. Like, it was like we're just chilling around, like, just above the flat, like that. The mouldy flat that we were talking about in the last episode, our mates lived upstairs. Like, so there was a 2-story building, one flat on upstairs, one flat on the bottom, and we were all up in the lads' house upstairs, and has a balcony, like, and just right beside our complex there was like the local Willow Park soccer pitch, where, like, during the week young lads play matches in the evenings, like, especially at the start of the year towards September and all, when it's still kind of bright. And we were all out, like, just on the balcony looking, cheering all these 12-year-olds on, like, and they were walking out onto the pitch anyway, and a few of the boys got speakers and just played Champions League music really, really loud towards the pitch, like. And you have all the young lads looking up, like, but imagine being 12 or 13 there, and you're coming and you have a bunch of like 20-year-olds standing up mouthing at you, like, we're all jumping up, Champions League music, like, acting like fans in a stadium.
Oh, stop. I'd say
you'd be quite nervous.
I'd say, like, sure, I remember when I was that age, I was just any older kids or older, like, teenagers or adults at all, I was just nervous around it. Like,
and we were just thinking, I bet you they're loving it, I bet you they think they're proper playing Champions League.
You probably had a few cans in you or something like that.
No, we actually didn't, I don't think. I don't think we did.
You were speaking earlier about some mad story about lads in balaclavas or something running into someone's house, actually.
Oh yeah, this is a good one, actually. Like, so I didn't really know, like, so there's one of the girls I knew anyway, but I didn't know her that well, but I know the story, which is a good story. So basically, some lad who had a big bag of weed was walking through the estate or whatever, and it was a fairly big bag, like, I think he was selling, but the guards just drove into the estate, which was quite common in our estate. The guards would be quite present, but so he threw the bag of weed into the garden of this girl's house, and tipped on, like, just in case, like, and he was going to come back and get it or whatever. She came out and got it anyway, and it was like putting in her story, you know, and a few like 2 different groups of lads both caught wind at the same time that she had this big bag of weed, and it struck both groups that we're going to go to this house and get that big bag of weed off her. And they both kind of arrived at the house at the same time, met each other and was like, what are you doing here, like, kind of thing, like. And they're both kind of half stoned as well, both groups of lads.
It's like
you know that Spider-Man clip. They're pointing at each other.
Meme.
Anyway, it kind of the idea got into the both of their lads' heads, and they're like, wait, we're both here for the same reason. Why don't we team up and get the bag of weed and share it between us? Because they're just anyway, dying for this bag of weed. And so they fucking pulled hoods over their heads, pulled the hoodie up over their heads, and stormed through the house like looking for this, like. And the girls in the house freaked, obviously, like, because they thought they were being burgled and mobbed and mugged, like. So they ran the guards crying. The boys didn't find the weed and left the house anyway, like. But like, it was absolute madness, and I think the bag of weed was soon returned to that said dealer after. But I just thought, like, that was a classic Athlone story.
Yeah, it's just a mad story. Like, Athlone seems just a funny place, like.
Yeah, it's good for the session. Like, college is grand as well. Like, it's not a bad college, like, but a lot of people go and just have the session up there, like, as well.
Yeah.
I know, like, during my college, like, life, an awful lot of lads would have came from Galway into Athlone to meet their mates. A lot of lads would have came from Minute over for nights out, like, a lot of the time, like, yeah.
It's weird because you don't have that sort of college culture in Dublin. Like, Dublin's obviously so big,
so spread out.
Yeah, like, when it comes to like the nightlife, you're just mixing it up with the regulars in the nightclubs and stuff. Whereas obviously in like the Carlow Town, Athlone, Sligo, any of these kind of large
smaller
towns that aren't big enough to have actual like tourism or local nightlife during the week, they'll just have the college nightlife. Whereas in Dublin, like, you go out and it's not just college people, it's out, like, loads of different people. People after work.
The nightclub in Athlone, college nights, like, is just, it's wedged with purely people in your college that you see, like, even if you don't know them, like, it's small college, you see them every day in college, like, and you do get to know people in other courses so easily, like, you know. Okay, guys, so it's that part of the pod again that the camera turns off, so go flick the kettle on, make yourself a cup of coffee, or if you don't drink coffee, make yourself a cup of tea. And the next portion of the podcast, we're going to be talking with Brian, all coffee.
He's going to take us through
started.
Neighbourhood Cafe, and I suppose what makes them unique here, really. And
stay tuned, and we'll be back in 2 seconds. Welcome, guys. So we're here with Brian from Neighbourhood Cafe, and we're going to have a bit of a chat with Brian about all things coffee, and I suppose a bit about the history of why or how he came to set it up, and why he came to set it up and stuff like that. Yeah, so welcome, Brian, if you want to.
Oh, thanks very much, guys. It's good to be here, and in the hands of some great professionals,
experts.
Saturday evening here, we just finished a busy day, but it's nice to get it going. Nice to meet you.
Not a bad complaint to be busy.
No, it's good. Yeah, flat out these days, so it's great. So
you're Carlow man, are you?
Carlow, born and bred. Yeah, did a bit of travelling back in my 20s.
Wasn't too long ago.
Oh, it was a while ago now. But accounting is what I studied, and worked on that for about 12 years, and came back from New Zealand about 4 years this month, actually. I think nice. The 11th of September is 4 years. But
so it's pretty much when you got back from New Zealand.
Yeah, so I was accounting up to that, and my last accounting job was with a coffee roasting company in New Zealand. It was an 18-month contract, but accounting was good. But I mean, I always had a thing for, I suppose, dealing with people, and I took an interest in coffee. And back in New Zealand, I used to volunteer in an emergency department in a hospital. And just, I suppose, back when I was 21 in the States, worked in a deli, and just really enjoyed
meeting people and having the chats on a daily basis.
The customer banter, and
even
just
regular customers getting to come in, and you've seen the same people every day.
So then basically came home. We had a 3-month-old. Got married in New Zealand, actually. So I married a Dublin girl in New Zealand, which was a bit of one for the books. But
What are the odds?
we met over there, got married over there, came back. We had a 3-month-old son at the time, and just decided, look, let's do something different, change it up a bit, and I was able to bring home a couple of machines, like coffee machine and grinder
nice.
and stuff like that. So, and then where we are here on Barrack Street was initially a cafe, and we took over from the last lady, and we decided, let's go for it. So we worked together for the first couple of months, and then she decided to go her own road and go back to college or whatever, and I kept going.
Kept it up.
And we've been roasting. We roast our own specialty coffee, so we've been roasting about 2.5 years. Kind of small batch coffee roaster is what I have. So it's a 6 kg Gießen.
Okay.
So it's quite cool. It's good. So
We have the great backdrop here as well.
yeah, we do.
The
That was actually an interesting one. When we got home, we had a couple of people living, and I'd bought a house before I left for New Zealand 2009, and we had a couple of people living in the house, and this girl was doing architectural engineering in the college, and she we talked to a couple of different artists and stuff like that about whether they'd like to do, because I had that actually a year before I came home. I knew how the cafe was nearly going to look and how it was going to be set up, and
cool.
New Zealand's amazing for cafes, and we used to take lunches in different cafes, and you'd have 3 or 4 cafes in a row, so you'd have coffees and one, like you'd have about 6 coffees.
You'd be shaking.
Six coffees over about 3 or 4 hours, and you'd be wide up, you'd buzz for the day. But no, a real coffee culture in New Zealand. So you kind of, I did different barista things and different cafes, and just the whole roasting scene is really big over there too. So I was just like, you know what, when I was with
Bring that home.
Yeah, when I was with the coffee roasting company, I bought a home espresso machine for the house.
Yeah.
A little rocket Giotto Evolution. So just would have people over and drink coffees. And actually that particular accounting job, I used to go in for 7 a.m. and meet with the head coffee roaster and the IT guy. Their names are both Scott and Scott.
Okay.
We met in the coffee lab and in the company. I just had coffees and just had the bands really. So by the time we were sitting down about 8, half 8, we'd have 3 coffees. So it's just like,
ready for work.
Ready to go, yeah. So no, it's a good time actually. So then, coming before I came home, I was like, look, I'm definitely going to do this thing. And so we came home and we were like, where are we going to do it? In Carlow, and we looked at places in Wexford, Waterford. Yeah. Just driving around really. And
locations.
Just locations. And I'm from Carlow, obviously, just out the Blackbog Road. So to have that, to work and live in your own hometown is really good.
Just as handy as well.
Yeah, you just get to know
some.
Yeah.
You know the locals, a lot of people coming in.
Exactly. So normally they're abusing me or I'm abusing them or
or
something or other. So it's.
Did you find the accounting background kind of helped you get a leg up when it comes to opening up your own business and kickstarting something?
Yeah, no, it does, definitely does. Yeah, I mean, accounting was I started off training in tax and then went into audit, and then it does. I mean, I do the accounts and all the paperwork for I suppose they're set up as a limited company, so I do all that, and I keep in touch with CPD. But it kind of gives you a good. I had a role with a wine company in New Zealand, as a cash treasury analyst, so you're kind of managing cash flow and all that stuff. So
and overheads and stuff like that, and you'll see them coming through even for the wine company and stuff
like wine. And actually that was about 4.5 years, and like wine and actually, would you believe, coffee are really closely related in that you're talking about, there's this French word, it's called it's pronounced, I never did French or whatever, but it's called it's pronounced toi, but it's spelled Teorroior, and it's kind of like, in wine they talk about the soil and the sunlight and the altitude and the conditions that the I suppose the grapes are grown in or whatever. But the same is true for coffee actually. Like it's all about your altitude and the variety of bean and what
along the equator, I think, is from what I've been looking up anyways. It's along the equator, and kind of the higher altitude is the better kind of. The sweeter, more kind of higher quality.
So you'd be talking, I mean, really, Arabica is specialty coffee would definitely always be Arabica, but you're talking about anything, specialty coffee would start off at a 83 cup score, an SCA cup score, which is the Specialty Coffee Association would
Yeah,
you know,
and is that
yeah.
a score out of 100?
Out of 100,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And basically you have Q graders who actually, so in Ethiopia or in Brazil or whatever it is, you'd have the farm where the coffee's grown, and it's cooked and tasted at that particular farm, and it'd be graded to a certain level, and then would be imported into France or the UK or whatever.
Yeah.
And that'd be graded again, just Q graders, and then so you're buying in, you know, if the coffee is like an Ethiopian and it's an SCA cup score of 89, it's pretty good. Like I think 83 is good, 85 plus it's somewhere along that is very good, and then like anything above 90 is like excellent. So
And is there obviously it's like the special farms in those kind of coffee producing countries that it's like almost like a Michelin farm of some sort, you know what I mean? It's that the
They have
highest
that
grade
expert
farm
knowledge
that are-
to-
they're getting
yeah,
the-
well,
they're
it'd be
getting
like
the regular 90s out.
yeah, the variety of bean would be just a good quality. It'd be grown at a higher altitude. It'd be so a good grade of coffee. So there's commodity markets for coffee, so you get all sorts of grades. You get low grades, middle grades, and high grades. But anything in the speciality level is really good, and you really like your roast as a roaster. You're roasting it to a medium roast. Never like any of the low grade coffee can be roasted really dark. So you're kind
Quite
of
bitter.
yeah, bitter and sour or whatever. Because I suppose when the grade of coffee is not very good, you're not. I suppose roasters aren't looking to eke out the sweetness of the bean. So it's like higher grade coffee, speciality or medium roasting, and you're basically you're trying to capture that kind of sweet spot in the coffee.
Balance between.
Yeah. Like, I mean, your Brazil, say for example, would be milk chocolate. Your Ethiopia is probably more fruity. Yeah, your Kenyan just quite complex kind of flavors. So you're getting that through the coffee when you. Yeah, it's the whole process from the roasting to the actual extraction, the exact extraction, and then how it looks on the actual when you put it in front of a customer in a cafe or whatever. So it's the whole bean to cup process.
And what would you kind of, I suppose, prefer yourself and your own tastes when it comes to coffee?
I mean, on a flat white, look, I mean, Brazil can be quite nice. So we have Costa Rica on at the moment, which is lovely kind of stewed fruits flavors. Ethiopia is lovely as an Americano or filter coffee like you pour over.
No, so, definitely. And do you
yeah.
do much pour over for customers, or would that just be your
Yeah, we
own?
actually have V60 here. Yes, so we'd have customers who do.
Would you get many customers? Because obviously myself, like I kind of my go-to would be a flat white or a cappuccino.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't really ask too much detail about what coffee they're using that day, because I don't really have a great knowledge, and I don't want to put. And if a cafe just uses one, or I don't want to put them out or whatever. But like, would you have customers saying like, "What's your pour over today?" Or
yeah, like we roast at the moment. We'd have 3 or 4 coffees we're roasting any time. At the moment we're roasting the Brazil, Costa Rica, Ethiopian, so we can run any of those. And I think we have a few that we had a Rwandan, Guatemalan, Peru. Like we've roasted all those coffees, so it's like any of those you can make pour over. So it's just it's just like on the grinders, we 2 grinders, the main grinder, which would be maybe your Costa Rica, Guatemala, Brazil, and then you'd have say an Ethiopian. Some people wouldn't maybe like the Ethiopian, it'd be too fruity or too floral in flavour.
Okay.
So you kind of have that. We'd have a second grinder for that.
Yeah.
So customers,
people want to try it and.
Yeah.
And like,
so
would you encourage
particular...
anyone coming to Neighbourhood to say, "Look, Brian, what have you got to offer?"
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can explain it then to them.
Yeah,
You'd be probably happy to do it, would you?
Yeah. I know, definitely. Yeah.
Brilliant.
The V60 is more. It's a slower coffee. So you're drinking a coffee black, and I suppose it's like the idea is you're not adding milk or sugar.
Yeah, you're sitting down to literally.
You're taking your time over the coffee. It's not really, you're not taking it with milk, as I said. But it's like you're getting the full. If it's an Ethiopian, you're getting the full flavour of the bean, really, and it's not adulterated with lots of sweetness or milk or whatever. But
because we actually were getting into that kind of conversation in our last episode before we started, about because I used to take sugar in tea and coffee and like just because when I was growing up, that's how I started to enjoy it.
The old Nescafe back in the day.
That's what I mean. Gold blend, super value, throw in 2 spoons of sugar.
Yeah.
But then obviously I kind of grew in a bit more interest in coffee. Like I was asking last week about like what does it do? If you've seen someone putting 2 spoons sugar into an Americano, like, are you standing there going, stop, don't do it, or what are you feeling?
No, look, not really. I mean, but it is funny. Say if you're, if you eating a pot of stew at home, where you're like tasting the stew before you're adding your salt and pepper. But it's funny that someone sits down to coffee and straight away the sugar goes in without
tasting it.
Because the Brazil by itself will be fairly sweet with milk or whatever.
Especially with the milk, yeah.
The milk kind of adds a level of sweetness to it, so it's like taste first and then. But I mean, some people 4, 5, 6 sugars. It just each their own.
They're drinking coffee for different reasons, so
yeah.
But
here,
I suppose
look,
each their own as well. Yeah,
it's funny actually. There's a customer I have, and she takes like about 5 or 6 sugars. But if there's a particular day when maybe the grinder or whatever is just a wee tad off, she'll pick it up. She like the coffee is a bit off,
so used to it, like,
she knows the way it should taste with her 6 sugars.
Despite all the sugars and the sweetness of the coffee, she is mad. But she'd be a big advocate. But
I'm the exact same. Like, if I put down dinner in front of me, like, I'll cover it in salt before I taste it. Like, and I could be after cooking it with loads of salt and garlic and everything.
Yeah,
and I just like a bit of salt now over the top of that.
Yeah, it's just force of habit.
I know it is habit. I think just reach for it before you start, just a habit. Yeah. But I suppose if people are trying to get more interested in their coffee, like, it's a habit they could try and break.
But I mean,
even maybe reduce it every time you have a cup.
People don't think, coffee's a natural product, so people think, what do you put in the coffee before you serve it in the cup? But it's coming, as a green bean, that you're just roasting it, and the roastings bring out all these complex. There's loads of complex reactions when you roast, so the bean expands or whatever, but the actual flavour is inherent in the actual coffee, so it's hard to grasp. But I mean, you have a particular variety that'll be, one will be smaller than the other, and one will carry, say, milky, like Brazil or whatever, will be milk chocolatey, whereas an Ethiopian will be a lot, it'll be fruity and floral or whatever, and you're not going along by pouring in whatever to it, but it's just a natural.
Even the coffee I got sent there, Badger and Dolo, like, on the bag it's like wine.
Did you get the coffee I sent you?
Yeah, it was lovely.
It's in the post. I must have gotten.
I must have gotten. We'll get one sent out anyway.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll look after you after this. Anyway,
so like, I was just like, it's wine, fruit, and candy flavour or something like that. I was kind of like, this is fucking mad. Like, sure, I wouldn't have tried anything like that before. So I tried it anyway in the AeroPress, and I added milk to it, and it didn't taste right. And I was like, that doesn't taste right. Like, is that milk gone funny or something? And then I was like, I'm not going to have milk the next time. And it was gorgeous.
Stunning.
Gorgeous
really nice.
yeah.
And that's the thing, I mean, we had
I think it's just an Irish thing. Add milk to
our
everything.
first and I've talked to a couple of guys who have cafes or whatever, but you give someone an Ethiopian, and I might have our first Ethiopian was a bit of a left wing one. It was kind of had a tangerine aftertaste, which was a bit weird, but you'd have people actually coming back in the door saying, your milk is off or whatever, which obviously wasn't the case. It was just the actual the taste of the coffee.
And is that tangerine flavour coming directly from the bean? Or
from the bean, and
because I was wondering that as well. Like, so
it's coming back to, I mean, to where the coffee is grown, the variety of the coffee, and the altitude, and so it's actually, coffee is amazing. Really, it's such an amazing product, and that it's so complex, and there's so much to do with it. And I mean, it's just mad. I mean, the different varieties and different altitudes and the different flavors and the different countries. I mean, it's crazy. It's good.
Yeah, because I was like really thinking, like, do you know when you see it on the bag, like the description of the coffee, the undertone flavors that you're looking for? Like, part of me is like, how do they know it's milk chocolate and hazelnut? Do you know that kind of way?
Well, you
tasted it.
Yeah, but obviously they have that's just what you're looking for. And like, I always like think, right, what can I taste here? Like, and am I tasting that? Like, do you know? And obviously I think you must just I suppose, like tasting wine or anything like that, you get used to it and you learn as you go, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, the Q graders in the country of origin where the coffee is grown, like you be cupping the coffee. Cupping the coffee is like is like 10 grams over water, so you can cup anywhere in the top of a mountain or in a busy cafe, wherever. Like, you just need a kettle and you cupping. You're letting the coffee basically just just sit in the hot water. You're grinding it to a medium grind, and just but all those flavors of the coffee come out.
They
and
come out at that.
and they'd be the attributes of the
That's
coffee.
how they
I suppose,
come.
the flavor notes of
Yeah.
the coffee. So that's kind
And
of
these guys are experts, like, so, like, you know, it's mad really that they have that ability, like, I suppose, to come to that conclusion accurately, you know what I mean? And then for other people to be like, yeah,
That's exactly what I
you know,
think.
It's a
I
bit
noticed
like
that.
look, the analogy I'd use is like, you know, if you, any you travel, like the goon. Do you ever drink goon, the wine in the bag or whatever?
Oh, no.
Yeah, you never did. But it's like goon is like just a whole mix of all this. Yeah, working for a wine company as well, but it's kind of like it's a mix of all these really not very good wines, like blend. So it's a blend of wines. It's a blend of all these wines. You buy it in a 4-liter bag and you just go for gold, like. But whereas so there's that level of wine which will taste like wine, so be quite bitter, be quite, you know, sour,
and then blow the head off you.
Blow the head off you, yeah. Whereas if you're comparing that to like a, I don't know, a Gewürztraminer or a Sauvignon Blanc or whatever, you're talking about a different grade
level
of wine. So
I
it's
suppose,
like,
quality
it's just a higher
level.
quality, so you're going to taste more of the specific,
The
I suppose,
oaky
flavors
or the
of
different,
of that wine or whatever,
That
so.
like an expert will say, this is what you'll taste here, lads, because the process has brought us to this point, and
like
the care was put into this rather than the wine in a bag where dump it all here.
The of the wine is, you know, it's a good quality wine versus what's just blended together in a bag
and
or
it's
whatever.
the same can be said for coffee at different levels, I suppose. What I was going to ask you there, like, I was just thinking in my head, like, the name of the cafe, like, so you talked a little bit about the name of the cafe to ourselves there, but I suppose for the listeners to find out what you're all about here at the cafe, and you know, you called it Neighbourhood Cafe, and was there a specific reason behind that?
Neighbourhood, I suppose it kind of, what I wanted before opening the cafe was somewhere where someone can come in, have a cup of coffee, have a chat, like meet friends, come in by themselves, have a chat with me or with the customers or with the staff, should I say. But just somewhere where someone could come in and feel welcomed, feel comfortable to sit down in a group of 2 or 3 friends or by themselves, and just feel like, I suppose, they're at home, they're in the home
in their
community,
own
whatever.
neighborhood, I suppose.
And I just felt like it's we try to include everyone, not judge anyone or whatever, and just, you know, we're all intermingled together and here to have a good chat in a nice cafe, nice, bright, friendly place. I know, like, some a good few customers you'd know, and it's just as a place.
Nice
where,
personal vibe. Nice kind
exactly. So I wanted that. And I mean, Carlow's a small town. I mean, there's we all get on together, and there's lots of footballers we get in, and hurlers, and different sports people, middle-aged, kind of elderly people. So it's just a mixed bag of whatever.
And
just
anyone
like
could come in on any given day, and you want to create that maybe hometown vibe, like, of people able to come to their own local cafe and have a chat with. They could run into anyone, you know, that they know or that they might not have seen for a few weeks, and then they run into them here. And that's kind of that neighbourhood. Everyone comes down to neighbourhood.
Good vibe, kind of happy place. Like our ethos on the wall, we talk about, like, just coming, drinking really good coffee in a nice, friendly, warm atmosphere, nice, clean environment with good staff, really. And you know, I mean, I'm lucky to have.
And like you yourself, I noticed that I think you supply Mimosa with coffee.
Yeah, just during the week, actually.
I seen that there.
Good on you, well done. Keeping track on the old
keep
social
an eye
media.
Out,
So I'd land some of
So, like, do you do much of that? Like, do you try your best to kind of get your support, like, other local businesses and give, you know?
Yeah, we've been roasting about 2.5 years. We're kind of roasting kind of higher grade of coffee. I mean, it wouldn't suit everywhere, I suppose, but I mean, Mimosa, I really like Mimosa.
I love Mimosa myself.
We were there, myself and my wife, we were there about 3 weeks ago. Better not call her my missus, she'll be cross with me. So
Missus.
My wife. But we were there a couple of weeks ago, and I every time I go in, you do get that sense of, is lovely. Like, it's just a really nice, and that's what
It's
that's
the
actually
neighbourhood vibe.
that's actually
in
what
a,
you're trying to capture in any cafe, or you
Yeah,
just
no,
like
I would see.
you sit
I see
in
your
and
point.
immediately your customer, you're greeted by the staff and they're really warm and friendly. How's it going? What you been up to today? Like, and
Yeah.
that's really your job as someone hospitality industry. You're like you're trying to create a warm and friendly environment where people are going to feel comfortable to come have a meal or have a coffee or whatever. But mimosas, like, you just get that
nice laid
instant,
back atmosphere. There's no panic.
yeah. And on the drinks menu, like they had 12 Acres, obviously the local craft brewer, O'Hara's, and then they had a coffee. Like, when we were there was a coffee, an Italian coffee, nondescript coffee or whatever. So it was just like, wow, really cool to be on the menu, just to promote the coffee or whatever.
Their beer is kind of locally sourced, like, so why not have the coffee locally
and
sourced?
that's
People are more into that sort of thing these days as well. You were saying it there previous to starting to record that seems to be really ramping up over the last number of years. If you want to delve into that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, like, it's all like what you're trying to do is capture that craft in the cup. So the craft coffee in the cup. So I mean, you're using a high grade coffee which you're buying in at a higher price. You're kind of roasting it to small batch roasting. I don't hold stock. I mean, I roast once a week, so as you kind of
trying to keep it fresh.
So the coffee I was using today in the cafe was roasted last night. So it's kind of like you're getting that freshness of the roast straight to someone's cup the following morning or the following day.
And I think there's a lot of people that appreciate the difference. Especially these days. Like, I suppose if you were even to go back 2 or 3 years ago, like even maybe 3-4 years ago, when I first started college, like, you didn't think of these things, like, they didn't go through your head. So it's just mad to think how it's developed and how people are more interested in.
I mean, people are more
the finer detail of it,
definitely way more up on I mean, it could be for Carlow, it could be people working in Dublin or people who've been overseas coming back into Carlow. But Australia, New Zealand, a lot of coffee would be similar. I suppose it'd be a higher grade and roasted by the cafe or by a smaller roaster, if you like. So it's coming back to the craft. And like, I think your first podcast you were talking about the pint of Guinness, the guy behind the bar, you were saying
puts love and
he's nearly like an artist, but it's like it's capturing that craft. It's coming back to how the coffee should be. Just you're a small producer buying from a wholesaler. I cupped the coffee. I cupped a sample of maybe 9 or 10 coffees before I actually buy the green beans. So you're tasting.
I've seen on your story actually in the past, like, that you go and to the wholesalers and do all these tastes.
Because it's seasonal product. So I think I'll probably buy the next couple of weeks. But I'll get a listing of what coffees are available, and I'll say, that might be nice. We had a Guatemalan on there a couple of weeks ago. That one ran out, so we're on a Costa Rican. We generally have a carried Ethiopian or the Brazil, but it's all about just
you have
trying
your 2 or 3 consistent, and then you try a couple every so
try
often.
Peru and Rwanda, and lots of different ones. But it's like as this small craft producer, like 12 Acres, like O'Hara's, is just capturing. Diageo is the big guy. They're the multinational who've probably come along originally in the 70s and 80s. I think we talked about, but I mean, there would have been with lots of different craft butchers and craft coffee places and craft brewers. And
that
for
went
some
away.
Reason, it became this homogenous kind of product that was bought up by the multinationals.
The big guys,
And I think you guys, the two of you with this podcast and basically through Instagram, which is a platform which independent kind of producers can be at some sort of a level footing. There's not, you're not talking advertising, TV advertising, which is going to cost huge money to. So I mean, Instagram is obviously free, stories or whatever, and Facebook the same. But I mean, it's given that local guy, the small one-man operation, I suppose. I suppose myself for 12 Acres, Paddy over in 12 Acres or whatever, I was giving him, I suppose, an equal chance nearly. But I mean,
to get the product in front of the customer's face, rather than, I suppose, the Diageo and other multinational or the big brands, they have the money to really pump into the advertising to get that really great video or whatever advertisement out and get the big banners in Dublin City down the side of a building or whatever.
Whereas the one guy local producer will
it's going to struggle to compete.
Have that. So I mean, for us as a small roaster to partner up with Mimosa, who are another local restaurant, it's a fantastic opportunity.
It helps both parties. I know Mimosa it's very hard to book it into theirs, like, because they're always busy because everyone loves it, and they have their own little space and they always fill it seems. So and especially I suppose now with COVID, like they definitely fill it because they have to space out a small bit more than they used to. What does the future hold for Neighbourhood, or what kind of is the plans for?
What's the future? Wow, the years have actually gone really quickly into our 4th year, but this year we're getting our website going, so actually hopefully next couple of weeks. So during lockdown we were able to get the trading online voucher at the enterprise office, so we've used that and it's in progress with a web designer guy. But our website will be neighbourhoodcafe.ie, where we'll sell the retail coffee bags and we'll sell different accessories and stuff. Maybe
even the pour over kind of home coffee kits.
The pour over, the V60 dripper, the Chemexes or whatever. We'll have a list of the cafetiers, all that stuff. We'll have a list of stuff that people can go online
and order and it can post it out to their home and stuff like that. Oh, brilliant.
Exactly. I mean, I'd like to as well, like we partnered up as we talked about Mimosa. I'd like to introduce the coffee into maybe a couple of different places, suitable places that are more hidden, kind of the speciality level coffee. And it's not that it's super expensive, but it's just it's a higher quality of things. And I think people 100%. Are a lot more discerning, as we said, just on their coffee these days, and how it tastes and how it should taste, and that it's not this really strong like sour acid flavor or whatever, but that it can be something really nice, and you can taste the actual flavors, the chocolate or whatever, the fruit or whatever. So that would be it. So the website, maybe doing a little bit more in the roaster, a small bit of wholesale, and see what happens. And then we're actually at the end of November we're going to become a dealer. We're collaborating with Rocket Milan, who make domestic coffee machines, and we'll be a retailer or a dealer for their machines here in the cafe.
And would that probably be through the website as well?
Through the website as well. We'll be listed on there, just selling the domestic machines. So Rocket are I think to do a lot of sponsorship for cyclists, cycling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the machine I bought in New Zealand was actually a Rocket machine, so it's a home machine. They're very really good quality machine, and they're handcrafted and hand built. So we'll bring in a couple into
maybe get that into, even if there's other cafes in the area, or
we'll be selling
even garden centres with a cafe in it, or restaurants, anything like that.
We'll be be able to bring in commercial machines and sell them here, retail them, and obviously the domestic machines, so where someone, for example, one of you guys can, they're espresso machines, so you can, and they have a wand, so you can either plumb them or have them just with the pour the water into container to back.
Into the container to back,
so it's a bit like the version, you see a lot of I hear lots about the Sage and the Longy machines.
Yeah.
But the Rocket would be competing with the Nuova Seminelli and the La Mazzaracca, so the La Mazzaracca machines, so they're the Italian machines. So that'll be good. So getting them in the end of November, bringing on the website, and we'll see doing some more wholesale on the coffee as well.
And is the website going to be directed towards everyday customers, or will that be mainly for, as you're saying, for trying to sell wholesale stuff?
Well, we'll have someone will be able to go on and buy a bag of beans. Just like West Cork Coffee or any of those guys. You can go on, buy your coffee. If you're short filter papers or Chemex or an AeroPress or so you can buy your bits and pieces on there.
And that'd be good to have as well, especially local, because
Yeah.
it's you hear all these other places doing it and kind of they're a bit far away, blah blah. But
Yeah.
it's been nice to support you guys over here when you're ordering your coffee. You know what I mean?
No, it's cool. I mean, even the retail bags in the coffee I roasted last night, and a good few went today, and people are, I suppose, getting to know that we're actually roasting coffee, and it's podcasts and Instagram and stuff like that are definitely helping things.
Brilliant way to do it. Like,
even do you reckon over the last 4 years of being in business, and I know it's 2.5 years since you started roasting, is that becoming more of a thing consumers are looking for?
Big time, yeah. I mean, I think we talked before this podcast about, sports people, like, the local GAA players, the women's football or the camogie or whatever, they're big into they really enjoy coffee. I mean, before a game, sometimes I'll have their old fellas will line up 6 or 8 or 10 of them or whatever.
So that's what they're putting.
But I suppose if you're footballing like 3 and 4 nights a week, you can go out and have pints on a Thursday or Friday.
And even the social aspect of the fact that pubs aren't opening properly, like coming for a coffee is another social thing to
coffee
do.
and breakfast. I mean, we Saturdays we normally do really well on the breakfast side of things, like eggs Benedicts, and it's just a good way to meet up. Catch up with friends, have a couple of coffees, have a bit of breakfast, and
good
then
chat,
head on and
tip
do your
on.
tip on. Go do your Saturday bits and pieces. Head to Pennies and buy a couple of pairs of underpants.
That's needed.
But
when does it close? I know.
But it's like, and actually that's probably how like New Zealand was just like on the weekends. Yeah, you just head for a cafe.
That was your kind of hobby in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it actually was. Yeah, we lots of friends. I remember we there was an Indian couple. Before we got married, we did a pre-marriage course. But this guy had a DeLonghi machine, and I was working with the company, and I was able to get him coffee beans. So I remember I got him a couple of bags of coffee beans, and I remember when I didn't have my machine, I was like, I wonder what the coffee tastes like. So that kind of edged me on to buy
your
machine.
Kind of
so I was like, because once you have a machine, then you can buy coffee from wherever, West Cork.
Everyone, like there is options, right?
And the beauty of roasting is like you can try all these coffees, bring them in. They're all seasonal. You're trying different ones at a time. You're roasting them to a particular profile and just trying to max out just that flavour.
And trying to get the highest quality possible.
And it's just and they're all so different, and it's always interesting actually. So, and I mean what's great for me is that people are like, wow, from time to time people say, wow, it's the best cup of coffee I ever had, and you're like, no way. Do you know what I mean?
What's that like?
It is it's a really rewarding thing actually, but it's so cool. It's
going
amazing.
From like sitting in an office behind a computer and find yourself back here dealing with people on a daily basis. Like, you had a great analogy earlier, and I think it's quality analogy. I think I wouldn't mind if you just went into a bit of detail on what you your thought process behind that all.
Oh, look, I mean, it's I suppose, you do the college thing, and I was quite into the books in college and leaving cert and studying, and just quite disciplined with all that, and it all stands to you as you're going, because you're putting the hours into the book. I wasn't back in the day with a football, but only back when I was 14, 15 or whatever. But like I suppose I travelled. I was in Australia, and I watched a podcast actually, Joe Rogan and Guy Ritchie, but Guy Ritchie, like, complete legend. He talks about like the story of the prodigal son, where you have to the prodigal son, everyone probably knows the story. The one son leaves the father, gets his inheritance, goes away, kind of wastes his money, squanders it, sniffing cocaine
trying to live the high life,
sniffing cocaine off strippers' tits and the whole lot, whatever. But I mean, completely just loses himself, so and then he returns to his dad, no money, broke, completely wretched, and the dad takes him in. But Guy Ritchie is beautiful, it's lovely, but it's like, it's like you have to, in each of us there's a prodigal son where you're going away to lose yourself. You have that time where you're for me,
you're focusing on what you think you want. But then when you realise.
I was accounting. I was 12 years accounting, and I still keep in touch with the accounting, obviously. And that's really important. That was the kind of the fundamental,
a good base.
The underlying, the base of what effectively got me to the cafe. But I mean, I found that really a part of me was kind of missing in that I I enjoyed the banter with customers, with people, and I just thought it was the best job ever. I mean, really working in the cafe is the best job ever. You come in and you're making coffees all day and chatting to people. I mean, and that's your work, you know. So it's pretty good, and tasting different coffees and roasting. I mean, it's pretty cool. So I mean, the prodigal son being you going away, mucking around, kind of wasting time, but I mean that's you actually finding yourself, and then you're coming back to be the older brother who is who you're meant to be. So
so
I mean, early on, I mean, the accounting, you're enamored with the suit and the shirt and the tie or
you
whatever.
think you've made it,
and it's like,
this
I
is a good
remember
job.
before I got married, I had the BMW with the rims and the Lord car. But I mean, you're trying to be this thing, you're focusing on the material, and and kind of, I suppose where I am now is more this is what fits, this is where I'm supposed to be, and what I'm happy doing, and it's like, it's good fun having the chats with everyone, and it's just it brings out a better version of who I am, as cliched as
sometimes cliches are true, and that's as simple as that.
It's mad, but I love that guy Richie, Joe Rogan. I was just like, wow, that guy has it, it's just
and
so cool.
Really
hit the nail on the head. You resonate.
Yeah. But he talks about the craft piece as well, just just bringing on the craft and how it's been reintroduced.
Going back to basics, keeping everything quality craft. Like, small
focusing
business.
on the kind of the premium, the quality end of it, and just
rather than mass produce.
Exactly.
Because I think even on Rogan's podcast they even discuss it at times, the kind of American idea of trying to get industry back to America, that they've lost some of the quality in trying to mass produce and get stuff cheaper, and they've lost quality, whereas now it's the American kind of thing that they're trying to bring stuff back, American jobs back, and American produced quality items and stuff. So it's similar, I suppose, in a way. That's more of a global scale of what I suppose you guys are trying to do, is bring that kind of localized, valuable quality product. And even you were saying that basically, like, you went away and you basically came back and realized what you wanted for
you keep it, you read different bits and pieces. I wouldn't say I'm a deeply spiritual dude, but I mean you're reading bits of I don't know, I mean there's that phrase, like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. But I mean, if you can get to that place where you're just content, you're obviously it's not about the material so much. I mean, obviously everyone has to live or whatever.
You have to pay the bills. Same thing. But which
it's great to be able to pay
get
the bills
down here and buy a few coffees, lads, because Brian still has to pay his bills.
That's probably a bit deep now. I'm sorry, lads. I mean,
nice way to finish it off.
Me, but I suppose in my mid-20s, I mean, I was working in an office, up studying for the accounting, which was that was where I was, like, and then I suppose that time away, came home, and it wasn't directly after that. I was in New Zealand for 7 years working in accounting then, but I mean, I think I from the reading and doing different bits, and I suppose you understand to a degree that there is that choice or that option that you can do something different. You don't have to be in the structured job, and you know what I mean, and it's not for everyone, and it's just like
each to their own, as they always say. Like,
but even if you didn't experience what it was like to have that life, you wouldn't maybe
have came to this.
Wait, there's none of that bad stuff.
Just the BMW and the suits.
No way. I'm a good fella, But
his wife's listening.
No, it's true. But I just love that analogy, and it just actually Oisin O'Neill in Thrive. I'm gonna mention him because he told me about the podcast. I think we were going to Nice for a coffee one day down to PS Coffee Roasters. And he was like, you should check this out. And it's like, just makes sense, That's probably, it's on everyone,
definitely.
I mean, we live such structured lives. You go to school, you do secondary school.
So used to that. You have your break when you have your break. You have your lunch when you have your lunch. You do what you're told.
Yeah, basically.
And then
And
you
look,
could go to
I'm
a
not,
job
I'm not
that's very
saying my
similar.
education wasn't cheap or whatever, and I didn't, you know, it was all down to my mum and dad, and they paid for the whole thing. But I mean,
And it's not a waste.
and
like,
when we were coming home, I mean, actually, we said we had a 3-month-old, our son Harris or whatever, and he, that's mortgage to come back to,
Feed
he's
the baby.
married, and I was telling the folks, mum and dad, like that I was coming back to open a cafe. They were like, "You having a
yeah.
a laugh?
Good
Like,
man.
you must be joking me." After because Dad had been minding the house. I had the house in Carlow, over the time I was in New Zealand, and he'd been looking after it and the whole lot and cutting the grass and all this jazz. And
Yeah.
I'm coming home just saying, "Well, I'm going over the cafe."
Oh yeah, he's going
And
over there.
how-
He's got notions now.
Yeah, not
he's
a
coming
clue.
back.
After coming from a complete desk job, and you're just like, "What the hell?" You know, it's
Yeah.
crazy stuff. But look, yeah, it's not glamorous. The first couple of years definitely is, and it still is. Like it's a great way to I suppose to spend the day. But it's like it's a good few hours in the day, and it's kind of you're involved quite a lot. So
Yeah, and like it's
But it's
not
like-
exactly.
yeah, it's like anyone who's probably self-employed. But I mean, if you're working for someone as well, you're obviously doing similar enough hours. But yeah,
At least you're
it's
able
good.
to.
You can go home though and leave your work, whereas when you're self-employed, you have to go home.
Yeah.
And it's in your head as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if
That's
you
why it's good
if
to-
you're so
it's a
engaged
passion.
in something, yeah, you
It's
kind
good
of
to have that
do,
something
yeah.
to concentrate on though for
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that you care about. So,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, my wife will tell you like it's like, it's 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night, and she's telling me to
Shut up.
shut up and stop talking about coffee, after you're doing the bits and pieces. And
Yeah, because
getting
it's
the
in your
kids
head and you're
to-
buzzing.
yeah,
You probably have about
probably
7
drinking too
cups
much.
in
You're
you.
buzzing because of the day you've had, and then you're buzzing because of all the coffee you drank, and
Yeah.
it's just like settle the kids down to bed, and 9, half 9, and sit down on the couch and collapse basically. But it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's all enjoyable. A lot of fun.
Nice.
Alright,
So
we'll leave it at
thanks
that,
very
suppose.
much for having us today, Brian. Like that.
Oh, bother, it's a
Been
pleasure.
a great chat.
Yeah, great.
It's a pleasure to be here in this lovely cafe that you've created for
Cool.
the
Thanks very much.
neighbourhood.
It's good to be here.
And that's been a great chat.
Yeah, just the socials. If you want to shout them out again, at Neighbourhood.
It's just that neighbourhood, isn't it, with a full stop?
So Instagram is neighbourhood dot
Neighbourhood
underscore.
dot
Yeah, so
underscore.
that you
Yeah.
can find us on
So,
Instagram
and
there.
obviously the
and-
website's coming soon.
Neighbourhoodcoffee.ie.
neighbourhoodcoffee.ie. I think our Facebook is Neighbourhood Espresso. You'll find us there. The cafe. And the website neighbourhoodcoffee.ie.
Yeah.
And
Where you can get
we're
all
here.
of
We're
Brian's,
Here on Barrack Street.
small roast coffee.
Yeah, so get in
Yeah.
and make sure and
If you're
stick
ever
him
in
up on
Carlow
Instagram,
area,
try and boost his business and try and boost our podcast.
Yeah,
Tag
and fair
us
play,
in
fair
and
play
tell
to
us
you. You
stories.
have to, touche and all that. But I mean,
yeah, no.
I
If you
think you're
call
onto a
over to
good thing.
Neighbourhood
It's a
for
really-
a coffee,
it's a really good initiative, as I said, and I think every cafe will be, more than happy to
Yeah.
have you meet with them and have the chats.
Have the
and
chats,
It's
yeah.
cool.
Thanks
keep,
a million,
keep,
Brian.
keep this thing alive.
We'll
All
leave it
right.
at that. All
Awesome,
right.
guys.
See
Thanks
you,
for
everyone. Good
thank
luck.
you.
Cheers.
Good luck.
See you later.